All right, good evening, everybody. Let's get started as we dive into this winter storm. Second one for this week. Yeah, we had one last weekend. This one's going to be, focused on us. Last weekend we had some ice, but if you weren't in Hertford County or some of our northern counties up to the Virginia state line, it was gone pretty quick. We were icy Sunday. It was not great driving conditions. We had some wrecks. We had some issues, but the rain was able to wash a lot of that away. This time it's going to be a little different. I don't think the rain's going to be able to wash a lot of this away immediately. It's going to stay cold, so it's going to take time for melt, especially in areas that get into those upper level snow totals. And I think we're starting to see signs that the possibility of some of those higher totals is certainly there. You just don't like to jump right into those high totals because it's North Carolina, it's the South, we live at the beach. It's not really supposed to snow 10, 11, 12 inches of snow, but I think that's going to be a possibility for some, and we'll probably have to update. I know we're going to have to update our snow totals. We went a little conservative today just because we didn't like the dry air was moving into the system. It kind of looked like there'd be a gap in between systems, but I think this coastal low is going to be strong enough to where it's probably going to be causing some issues. So let's get to the graphics, show you what that looks like. We are covered up in winter storm watches all across ENC, all across the state. Earlier this morning, Cherokee County, which is the last county in extreme western North Carolina before you get into Tennessee, they were not under anything. Now they're under winter storm warnings, along with a good chunk of western North Carolina. Then we get into the winter storm watches. Those will be upgraded as we head into our Friday. Tomorrow's Friday. Saturday's when we kind of expect things to start. And one new model just came out. I wish I could show you that, but it hasn't fully downloaded yet, so I can't get into that. But we'll have that coming up at WITN News at 11. Here's the weekend winter storm kind of planner for you to get an idea of just how things are going to go. It can only be so specific in two lines, but Friday night, we do expect to drop below freezing. It's not going to be warm during the daytime, but we might get into the 40s in some locations. Light snow after midnight. I don't think we're going to have major problems Saturday morning, but there's going to be a couple bands that, there's already a little accumulation on the ground by the time you wake up on Saturday. Not area-wide, so do not panic if you don't have snow by the time you wake up Saturday. Snow's going to fill in throughout the day, and the rate we fill in, if we can fill in enough, if a heavy band of snow can set up by, noon, we'll be in pretty good position to get some of those higher snow totals. But if it's 3, 4 o'clock and we're just getting started on adding snow to the ground, don't know if we'll quite hit our potential. But roads are going to go downhill throughout the day. You might have time to venture out, but I don't think you would have time to venture very far. Saturday night, storm peaks, heaviest snow and gusts up to 40 to 50 miles per hour. We might even have some wind gusts at 60 out on the Outer Banks. That's going to be pretty impressive, especially, we've talked it's going to be more of a dry snow. If you're at the coast where temperatures are probably 30 to 32, that's probably going to be a wet snow in some locations. I'm not going to say it's a dry snow everywhere, but definitely at the coast, I think you could start to see some bigger, wetter snowflakes, and that may lead to some power outages, especially with the wind. It's also going to lead to some visibility issues. You're not going to want to be out late Saturday night. You're not going to want to be up early Sunday. Snow does exit early, but the cold and wind continue, and then we are in for some dangerously cold temperatures by Monday morning. Wind chills as low as -5. We'll probably already see those by Sunday morning, if not a little bit earlier. So snow accumulation. Been hearing about it on Facebook. Posted this, said it was our initial thoughts. People asked why the forecast went from a foot down to this. This is our first map. We have not said a foot of snow. We haven't made a map for a foot of snow. It's not to say we're not going to, but this is our initial thoughts. And I have bumped up that little 5 to 8, 6 to 10. I think there's going to be a band in there. Not for everybody in the pink, but I think there's going to be a band that does deliver at least close to double digits inches of snow. But what we're watching, the 3 to 5, that got a lot of people's attention, along with the 5 to 8. I think there's going to be two areas of heavy snow. One from the triangle back into central North Carolina. Doesn't impact us, but it's on our map, so just drew that little circle. Didn't think it was going to be that controversial, but it was. On the coast, as we go into tomorrow night, or to Saturday, that's where this band is really going to set up, and I'll show it to you in just a second. That's just where it's going to be puking snow. It's going to be coming down hard and fast, and it's going to start to add up, but it's also going to be windy, and that means we do expect the snow to blow around just a little bit. So the closer you are to the coast, the better you are for this event. We'll have to watch down East Carteret. If you stay right at freezing, may not accumulate as well. Some portions of the Outer Banks. This band may sit up just over the Sound for places like Ocracoke and Hatteras, to where maybe Rodanthe up towards Manteo, up towards Kitty Hawk, they're getting the heaviest and highest amounts, but you're kind of just getting, still several inches, but maybe not the peak amount of snow. So expect that map to change. We're still 2 days out. The snow map, we issue it just so you have a general idea of what to be prepared for. Really, there's not much difference between 8 inches and 12 inches of snow. You need to be prepared for high levels of snow anywhere close to or over 8 inches, especially in this area. Our winter storm criteria starts at 2 inches. So if we get a lot more than that, that's going to cause more issues. So sometimes I don't even like to show snow amounts, but I know that's what people want to know the most, is just specifically what's the range of snow. I wish we kind of did more impacts. 2 inches of snow is going to be different than 6 inches of snow, and 6 inches is going to be different than 12 inches. But when we start to split the hairs between 3, 4, 5 inches, I don't think it matters. It's about the same. It's like saying, tomorrow morning is going to be 20 degrees and it ends up being 22. Okay, we didn't get exactly right, but it was still 22 degrees, and that feels a lot like 20. So the impact can be the same without us focusing on the specifics. So don't get focused on, am I getting 3 or 4 inches of snow? Focused on if you're getting 3 or 10 inches of snow. That's where the impacts are going to be the greatest, and you want to be prepared, especially with how cold it's been and how cold it's going to stay. Anything that falls this weekend is going to stay on the ground. And to make this situation even harder, we don't even have anything to track yet. Look on this image and try to find the winter storm we're watching. You can't. It's not like last week where by this point we had stuff flaring up across New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and starting to head our direction. We could track that storm system for states before it ever impacted us. This one, it's going to develop right overhead, which really does not give us much room for error. We kind of have to assume a lot of things are going to happen. And lo and behold, weather does not like it when you assume things are going to happen, because it's going to do something different. So here's kind of what we're talking about. Friday at 5 o'clock, we got cloud cover, but we're dry. There's some snow back over towards the Triad, maybe even north of the Triangle up into Virginia, but it's not really heading our direction just yet. That's going to happen closer to or after midnight. And then notice the rain come in from the south. That's going to be the main driver for central North Carolina. It's the snow that starts Friday evening, Friday night. That's going to be their main round of snow. But then we have this coastal low, and it may briefly push temperatures above freezing. But look at 5 a.m. There's some snow, but there's also some dry spots. And look at that dry slot, kind of from I-95 down I-40. So north of Wilmington up to Lumberton, Fayetteville area, somewhere in that hole, you may be on the short end of snow. You may have several more inches to your west, back in central North Carolina, and to your east in eastern North Carolina. You're going to get snow, but I just don't know. I think there's going to be a dry slot. I think that dry slot on our map might be a little too big. I think we can kind of push it in a little bit with some higher snowfall totals once we start to get closer to the event. But 4 o'clock, this is already an impressive band of snow. It stretches from Norfolk, Virginia, all the way down to New Bern to Jacksonville. This is where we're really going to set the groundwork. We could have maybe 6 inches of snow in spots by 4 o'clock if everything goes perfectly. And that's what has to happen if we're going to be dealing with winter storm and several, 10 to 12 inches of snow. It's got to go perfectly. It doesn't just happen by accident. We've got to have all the ingredients, and we've got to have them all in this right place at the right time. Some of that data is starting to align, and look at that band just sit there until things start to end heading into 7 a.m. on Sunday. So yes, I do think our snow totals are too low. I think we're going to have to bump them up. We might bump them up by the 11. I still got almost 2 hours to sit through data and update the forecast a little bit. But just don't want people to tune out the forecast, because if you do, if you look at one graphic, whether it's mine or someone just posting raw model data or anything online, you're not going to be prepared. You're not going to have the right idea of what this storm system can do. You got to stick with us. You got to keep tuning in, and we'll let you know how things change and what that means for you. But Sunday, we do get some sunshine. I just don't know if it's going to do any good, because we will be well below freezing. Already, the winter weather impact chart is much higher than it was last weekend. We had moderate conditions last week, and that was kind of from Highway 11, Pitt County westward, where it was icy. There was a couple power outages, but until you got up into the Ahoskie area, that's where a lot of the ice started to accrue a little bit better. Outside of ENC towards the Triangle, they had a lot more sleet than we did. But this time we're kind of under the major impacts, and even some extreme. That extreme is banking on a foot of snow, around a foot of snow, and it's possible. But that's kind of the area that we would bump up to a foot of snow if we think that's very likely. Something we haven't talked about besides snow, it's cold. We've got winter weather alerts, cold weather watch in effect for all of our area, not just Sunday morning. I think we'll have one Monday morning as well. It's going to feel like 0 with a 16-degree temperature Sunday morning. This is while it's still snowing too. Snow's coming to an end, but it's so windy, it's so cold. That's just going to be just not fun to be outdoors. It gets a little bit better by the afternoon, but if you're going to be out playing in the snow, which I think a lot of us will be, you got to bundle up, especially the kids. This is kind of cold you don't really want to mess with. Monday morning, we do it all over again. 13 degrees in Greenville with a wind chill of 2, 20 in Beaufort, it feel like 7, 17 in Swan Quarter, it will feel like 5. And look at our temperatures heading into next week. We've dropped them down because we do expect a ton of snow on the ground. 32 for Monday, maybe 40 on Tuesday, just depending on if we can get into full sunshine. We do get some rain Wednesday to Wednesday night to maybe help out with the melting process, but whatever's on the ground. My family's back in Arkansas. They had probably, 6 to 8 inches of snow and then about 2 inches of sleet on top of that. They haven't gone back to school. Maybe an inch or two of that is melted. They're still kind of snowed in for a while because they're just not used to that much snow. They're not used for it sticking around. Usually the roads get a lot better in the next 2 to 3 days after an event. Same thing here. Roads will be okay in spots, but I think there will be some spots where travel is just going to be really, really hard because of how much snow is on the ground. So one thing to watch out for is how windy it is. It's going to be more of a dry, powdery snow for a lot of inland areas. That's going to blow around. So we may it may be hard to kind of, after this storm ends, to really see how much snow we got. You may have some really high drifts of snow where the wind pushes it all into the corners around your house, and then you may have some spots out in your yard to where it's not very high. Maybe 5, 6 inches, but all that snow is blown somewhere else. Even after it stops snowing, some of that snow is going to be transported elsewhere. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a tough one to kind of verify after it falls, just because of the wind. But these snow amounts, they're tricky. Usually, we're trying to just get a few inches. I think few inches, especially in the spots where we could get those higher totals, so that may fall by lunchtime or afternoon in some spots. If we have 4 to 6 inches on the ground by 4 or 5 o'clock, we're pretty much headed towards, a big band of snow, double-digit figures, 10, 11, 12 inches. And it may not be widespread. We may have one county that's just getting hammered with snow for hours, and then you go to the next county over, and they're getting into some snow, but it's kind of off and on, and it takes a while for it to build. So almost like summertime thunderstorms. If you remember, every summer it's hot and humid, afternoon, sun disappears, it rains for 15 minutes or it could rain for 4 hours, just depending on where you are and where these storms pop up. It's really hard, especially snowfall-wise, to pinpoint exactly where these heavier bursts of snow are going to fall. But I think there's going to be some areas that, just get stuck under these bands of snow, and travel's a lot harder, accumulation's a lot higher, and then other counties, you may still get some snow. It just may not be as heavy, or it may not sit there as long, and that's going to make accumulation struggle. For those who, just watch in every once in a while, we're still 48 hours. We're getting close to 36 hours from when snow could start. We watch these things, everything in North Carolina, especially eastern North Carolina, comes together at the last second. Thunderstorms do it, severe weather does it, any big weather event. It kind of feels like we don't really know much about it until we get at least within 48 hours, but a lot of times 24 hours or sooner, before or under 24 hours, that we really kind of get a gist of these storms, especially when they develop overhead. That's just a luxury we don't get very often. Usually we have to watch the storm develop overhead instead of tracking it from somewhere else where it's already formed, and we can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. So when you have two different pieces of energy kind of merging together, it's going to be tough to really fully understand it. And unfortunately with snow, I think that means some areas miss out on snow. Right now I think it's more towards the Fayetteville area, Lumberton area, but maybe a few of our counties, once this storm system's all said and done, probably aren't going to be happy with their snowfall totals. But for the majority of our area, we really do expect this to be a really good snowstorm, one to be fun. We just don't want it to go too far the other direction. You can have fun snow, and then you can have dangerous snow, and especially when it's not going to melt very quickly. That can just cause problems well into next week. So just a lot of things to watch. I'm going to try to answer a lot of these questions, specific locations. Y'all got to help us help you. You got to learn where you are on a map. We use maps for everything. You got to know where your county is. You got to know where your city is on the county. I could spend 30 minutes going through every city, and someone would ask about another community. And I get it. You want to know what the weather's going to be like down to your street level. Science has just not gotten that far in a lot of cases. We can kind of give you a range, but that's why we use maps. You got to learn where you are on a map. I'll show you the map again. And we can't put everybody's name on the map because then you wouldn't be able to see the weather information. I get that too. I would want my city to be on the map as well. Washington people always want Washington on the map. Greenville's too long. The E there kind of keeps it from auto-populating. And then Swan Quarter doesn't help either. Bath, I know a lot of people in Bath want to see their name on the map. We just got to leave some space open. Now, when we use radar and we use stuff like that, we can zoom in. Even a few of our model graphics have Washington and a few other cities on there because there's room for it. But you got to know what county you live on, where you are on the map. So Washington would be right there by the E. Bath would be a little bit more down that the Pamlico River there. But again, we expect these numbers to change. May even change them tonight for the 11 or for the morning show with Jim. So we try to give you as much information as we can. But it's a two-way street. You got to know especially during severe weather coverage, you got to know what street you live on, your immediate area. You got to know your county. Got to know where you are on a map for us to be able to help you the most. Nash County looked to be in a drive slot on short-range models. What do you think? It's going to be close. Anywhere close to I-95 by a few counties, I think that's where this dry slot's going to set up. Still think you get snow. You just may be, if you don't look around and look and see what other people got, you may not be very disappointed. But I think that's where we could get some lower totals. I wish I had a short-range model to show you. It was still loading when I came over here to do this. But yeah, Santana, sometimes I just take drives to go learn the area more, learn where Dollar Generals are, learn where schools are, points of interest for severe weather. Did that a little bit yesterday. Went up to Ahoskie to look at some of the ice that was still on the trees. Just made some mental notes for severe weather coverage. Comes in hand for winter weather coverage too. But again, it's a two-way street. You gotta work with us and help us know. Okay, I see that county. That's my county. I'm on the western end. I'm in the central part. I'm on the southern end. And then you focus on that during the forecast, because even if I got 20 minutes for weather during the show, I don't think I could get to every single community and tell you exactly what's going to happen. So that's why we use maps. But I'll try to go back through some of these comments and answer them once we're done with this. Tracy, will you guys broadcast from home to stay safe? We're going to have people in the building. Now, Sunday, I may broadcast from home. I may go live from my backyard with the snow. Just it kind of depends on how much we get. But yeah, we'll be here. This is my third or fourth straight weekend that I'm working. Even for minor events, we're staffed, we're ready to go. That includes me. So I think I've had 3 days off this month, including weekends. So it's been a rough month in the Weather Center and for our news people too. They were here last weekend for the ice Saturday night and Sunday morning, and they'll be here again this weekend as well, as this event looks to be a little bit more of a bigger deal than what we saw. Diantha is over this weather. I'm getting close to being done with winter, I think. This might be it. Once we get this out of the way, I think I'm ready for warmer weather. Roads have been salted down. That really helped us this past weekend as well. I think NCDOT did a great job, and they'll probably continue to add salt, but there's not much you can do when snow is going to be piling up inches and inches. They're going to plow it, but they're not going to get to every road before another inch falls and another inch falls. So yeah, I think there'll be some roads that'll be fine through the weekend, but there's probably going to be a lot of roads, even the main roads and the interstates are going to have a couple inches of snow that you're going to have to drive on. So if it's a powdery snow, if it doesn't pack down, that's going to make travel really, really tough. Wet snow down at the coast where temperatures will be closer to freezing. Usually about 32 to 30 is your wettest snow, 29 to maybe 28, but usually once you get down into the 20s and the teens especially, which is what we're going to have in place throughout this weekend when it's snowing, it's a very powdery snow. It's almost more like what you would ski on rather than what you would use to build a snowman. But sometimes that means we get more snow. We use what we call snow to liquid ratio. So usually the standard's 10 to 1 for us, probably closer to 8 or 7. That means for every inch of rain, that would make about 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 inches of snow, whatever your ratio is. Right now our ratios look above 10, kind of towards 12 to maybe 14 to 1. So if we get an inch of rain, which I don't think anybody's going to get an inch of rain, that would convert to 12 to 14 inches of snow. I think right now most of us are kind of in the 4/10 to maybe 6/10. So if you kind of divide that in half, that would give us about 6 to 8 inches of snow across a good chunk of the area, with some areas getting more if it snows harder and harder, just due to some stuff up in the atmosphere. Great for snow cream. Yeah, snow cream. I think a lot of people will be able to make that. I hate to say everybody, because there's always kind of one or two spots that maybe don't do as well snow total wise. Really hard to say who that's going to be, but I would bet I-95, maybe our I-40 counties from Duplin northward up towards Nash, Edgecombe. I think that's where we'll get a little bit of a delay in the snow, maybe even a dry slot that really limits what accumulates. But areas along Highway 17, I think that's the sweet spot. We have them in our highest corridor for snow totals. Pamlico County, if you're over towards Washington, Terrell County, Columbia, all the way up to Elizabeth City. I think there's going to be a stretch right through there that's really hitting the jackpot. Pitt County, if you're in Greenville, you're going to be right on the edge from really good snow to very high totals. It's going to be very slim. We might see, eastern part of the county, Pitt County, get way more snow than the western part of Pitt County does. We saw that a little bit with the ice, except it was the opposite direction last week. And the highest ice was back west of Farmville and north of Pitt County as you went up towards Ahoskie, Hertford County, eastern Pitt. There's a little bit of ice, but it disappeared pretty quick. It was about 1/10 of an inch or so. We were talking closer to 1/4 of an inch by the time you got to western Pitt County. So it's a very thin line between issues. Kinston, saw someone ask that. Kinston's going to be a decent amount of snow. Right now we got you more in the 3 to 5, but would not be surprised if we bump Kinston up to over 5 inches as we go through a little bit. Yeah, this will be a dry and powdery snow, unless you're at the coast. If you're in this area where the snow may pack up a little bit more, if you're closer to 30, 31, 32, you may get wet snow for a period, but once we all kind of drop down into the 20s, that should really kind of limit just how wet the snow is. Usually your wettest snow is going to be right around 30 to 32 degrees, which is kind of hard to do because usually we're either really cold or we're just plain old rain. Goldsboro, you have a chance to get snow, but probably be on the lower side of things. I don't know if you would be on those higher amounts. Cold beach sand, yeah, that's a good way to say it. It's going to be like cold, wet sand at the beach. What do I think about the groundhog on Monday? I'm just trying to make it to Monday. It's been such a busy January. I don't know if the cold's going to go in. What is it, 6 more weeks of winter? So that'd put us through the rest of February into March. I don't know if it'd be full 6 weeks of winter, but I think at least the first probably 7 to 10 days of February will be below average, and then maybe we'll start to come out of it a little bit. But we've not had a above average day in about a week now, temperature wise. So I just don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon. We've just kind of been stuck in cold, and looks like there'll be more cold coming as we head into next week. All right, you can post more questions in the comments, and we'll be able to answer them later. Just once somebody said, Chrissy said, Columbia, North Carolina, can't wait to see some snow and enjoy it with my boys. Just enjoy it. If you get 5 inches versus 10, that's still a really good snow event for us. And we had a good snow last year. We had about 4 in Pitt County. I think some spots on the coast got over 8 inches of snow. So just enjoy it. Like I said at the beginning, inches of snow is kind of obsolete. We try to get you prepared. A little bit of snow can cause some slick issues, can melt really fast. Medium amount of snow, that's where your travel is going to be more impacted for probably a little bit longer. But this is just all around a really good snow event. We don't get many snow events where a good chunk of the area has a strong signal for at least 3 to 4 inches of snow. Would be various. I think there'll be a couple spots below 2 inches maybe, but for the most part, I think right now we're trending towards everybody getting snow. So just enjoy whatever you get, because we don't get this very often. We're the coast. We're the warmest part of North Carolina. Sometimes we don't even get a winter. So anytime we can get something like this, you might even hear some thundersnow if you're closer to the coast. We do need to talk about the wind. Wind gusts will be closer to 40 to 50. For most of our area, 40 for inland, 50 for the coast. Could even be some wind gusts closer to 60 out on the Outer Banks, and that's where we'd really start to see the power outage threat rise, especially if it's a wet snow. Blizzard conditions. National Weather Service office in Newport, our main office, they've never had to issue blizzard warnings before, and it's possible with this system, especially in the few counties where we think that the highest amounts of snow could fall. So that'd be pretty incredible to see. I've only been in a blizzard warning once, and that was Christmas 2012 in Northeast Arkansas. Didn't quite verify. We got a foot of snow, but I don't think our wind was windy enough. Got to have wind gusts above a certain point for several hours, 3 to 4, maybe 5 hours, at least wind gusts of 30. Everybody's criteria is a little bit different, but I think we can do it this time. I think, if they pull the trigger on blizzard warnings, I think they would verify, especially with the blowing snow threat. So that's going to be hard too. I think after this storm, we're going to have some massive drifts of snow, and then people will try to measure their yard, and the snow went into those drifts. So it's going to be a tough one to say. I think we got a full-fledged foot of snow, but I do think it's certainly possible there's going to be drifts well over a foot. Depending on how much snow we get, wouldn't be surprised to see 1.5 to 2 feet snow drifts against buildings and against parking lots and here or there. Only in those areas that really get those higher amounts, which we're still trying to pinpoint down. We're going to know a lot more tomorrow. I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable about this on Friday versus today, just because we have so many moving parts and everything's coming together over your heads. It's not fun when you're watching a storm system develop over you. Kind of wish it would develop a little bit sooner so you can get a better idea of what it's capable of. But this storm system's certainly capable of a lot. It could be one of our more memorable winter storms. But again, it's North Carolina. Everything's got to go perfectly. There's always something that can kind of throw these storms off. So that's what we're kind of watching for as we head into tomorrow. Any signal, if it's dry air, if it's maybe the coast sits at 32, 33 a little too long, and that takes an inch or two away out of the forecast. It's going to be tough. Just a lot to watch with these winter storms in the south. It's never easy. I don't think many people have the chance of power outages, Rachel. I think it's kind of, I think it's probably those who get into the wet snow a little bit earlier. But yeah, the power outages, it just depends. The wet snow areas closer to the coast, if you're getting into some pretty strong winds, that's going to add some weight to the power lines. And I think our power infrastructure is pretty good. We didn't have really any issues last weekend, and we had an okay amount of ice. It wasn't the highest ice I've ever seen, but it was a high enough amount to where I was a little surprised we didn't have more power outages. But and even last year, we had an ice event that put down 1/4 to 1/2 inch for a lot of areas and kind of tapered off right when we needed it to avoid big issues. So with living in hurricane country, we've had some ice storms over the past 15 years. I think most of our power infrastructure is a little bit better than it used to be. So kudos to the power companies for doing that and building better networks and building better infrastructure. But yeah, we're going to find out how strong some of these winds can be and how much kind of can sit on the power lines. How long do you think the roads will be bad? Into Monday at least, Tuesday probably as well. If we can warm up enough by Wednesday, if we can get some light rain around, that'll start to ease back some of the mounts, at least to where they can plow it a little bit better. Main roads, I would think till at least Tuesday, they're going to be dicey. They could start on at least late Monday. Main roads dicey. Once you get to the back roads, definitely probably at least until the middle of the week that we start to see those improve. Rebecca wants to know about down east. Friday 10 p.m., Saturday to 8 a.m. I think you'll be fine. Down east, you'll probably be above freezing Saturday morning. You'll have to drop one of the few places, kind of Beaufort to in Morehead City over to down east. You may be right there at 32, 33, 34 and have to drop below freezing. I don't think anybody else is going to have to drop below freezing. I think most of us are going to start the day below freezing and finish a little bit colder by the afternoon as the snow really starts to ramp up. So down east area, I think you're fine. But eventually you will change to snow. Greenville, right now we have you about around 5-inch mark. We have some of the county in 3 to 5, some of the county in 5 to 8. I think we'd probably be able to bump Pitt County up a little bit higher than 5 inches. But waiting on tonight's evening data, we'll try to update things once, maybe twice a day, just to avoid confusion and not jump the gun on something that looks like a trend but might not be a trend. So we'll try to have an update here at 11. I don't think I'm going to change things too much, though. and then Jim will have an update in the morning, and we'll update things from there as we go throughout the day on Friday. So thanks for asking. We will try to, if you leave some comments, I'll try to go back and answer, but really you'll probably have to go back and watch this video. I don't like to get too specific at this point about who gets how much, because things can change. But tomorrow when we do this video again, probably around 9:30, probably 9:30. I like to let a couple models run in before we jump into here. There's one model I was trying to look at, just kind of ran out of time. So we'll try that tomorrow, kind of show you some of the high-res data, as we're just now getting into range of some of the high-res data, which usually does better within 36 hours, which would be tomorrow morning. So thanks for watching. We got you covered. Just prepare. I know it's annoying to go buy stuff you may not need in the moment, but you'll eat the stacks, you'll eat the food eventually. You know, if you're worried about power outages, we bought a propane heater. Didn't need it last weekend. We returned it earlier this week because we don't anticipate running out of power here in Pitt County, where my wife and I live. So I get it. We bought stuff we really didn't want to spend money on, but we were able to take it back. And if you can't take it back, if you bought a generator, you can't return it, you live in hurricane country. Chances are you're going to need that generator at some point. Even next winter or this winter, if we have another winter storm or ice storm, or if you lose power this weekend, you'll be able to use it. So just think about that. Think about how you can prepare. And it's better to be safe than sorry, especially when we're talking about these higher snow amounts, which are starting to look a little more likely than they did this morning. So thanks for watching. We'll keep you updated. We'll have more updates, a new update coming up at 11.